In the game of loans, you either win or you learn. Welcome to the game of loans, where fortunes are forged and empires are built. Your hosts, lords of lending and wholesaling, are here to guide you through the realm of real estate and wealth building. Brace yourselves, cash flow is coming. Welcome to episode 11 of the Game of Loans. I have a very, very special guest today, Melissa Barone.
Thank you for saying Barone, that correctly.
Barone. So Melissa, just for full disclosure, is one of my top loan officers right now. I've made plenty of fucking mistakes. You know, they say Michael Jordan, he took more shots and missed, right? But, you know, the ones that he hit, he usually won championships and shit. So I've taken chances and I've hired many people and I've failed at that. But when I hit gold, I fucking hit gold, and I hit gold with Melissa.
Thank you.
So, Melissa, tell us a little bit about your background.
Sure.
You know, where you grew up, everything. When you got into the business, I know you were fucking 10 years old when you got into the business. So you've been
wasn't even walking yet. Yeah.
And so give us some background on how you got in, where you grew up, and so on and so forth.
Yeah. So I'm originally from Los Angeles. I kind of stumbled into the business. I was very young. I started as a receptionist. Had no idea what the mortgage business lending even was. But I've always just had within me the ability to be very self-sufficient and want to learn everything and know all the ins and outs and work my ass off, even as a child.
Right.
So once I got into the business, I actually went through every single position before going into sales.
So just tell us what the positions are. And did you start out in private lending? What type of lending?
I did not. So I actually started in subprime. Just going to show my age. So I started,
the whole fucking system's going to blow up. You said subprime.
I know. Started in subprime. And
just subprime was what was popular in like the year
so it
2000.
Wasn't your A
right,
paper,
the A paper
right?
Wasn't Freddie like it wasn't
Correct.
Conventional.
Correct.
It was before the 2008 crash.
Yeah, I know. Some people probably just exploded when I said the word subprime.
Some people just fucking had a heart attack.
Yep, that's okay. But you know, thankfully we've all lived past it, right? And it's only made us stronger.
Yeah. So you started in subprime.
Started in subprime. Worked my way up within operations originally. So I started as a dock drawer, then a funder, then an account manager. And being an account manager really is what allowed me to kind of have both that operations and sales understanding of how the transaction works.
Which made you a way better loan officer.
Absolutely.
Right.
Not only, so then from account manager, then I became an account executive, right? That's what it was within subprime back in the day. But what's great, and throughout my career, I've always done somewhat of a mixture of both operations and sales, which has been amazing because you fully understand the transaction as a whole and the process as a whole. And no one can ever tell me that something can't be done because I did it, right? So that, you know, not to burst anyone's bubble, but I've been through every scenario within an organization, so I know exactly what can and can't be done.
No one can bullshit you.
No one can bullshit me.
Right.
Exactly.
Which is important.
So started out in subprime. I'm very fortunate that I remained in the business even during those hard times. I went into conventional lending.
After the meltdown.
After the meltdown.
Okay.
Yep. I went into conventional lending. Should I even share where it was? Or maybe some ears are going to explode. Yeah. So I was with Countrywide.
Oh.
Yeah.
Forgot it. People just started passing out again.
Yep. So bringing that one back with Countrywide, and then which ultimately turned into Bank of America. So throughout my career, I've been with small mom and pop shops and very large institution corporations. I know personally, I prefer a smaller organization. It's much more personable. You're not just a number. You can actually make a difference within that institution versus being in a very large corporation, which has some benefits as far as security might go.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, this is not a corporate individual right here. So I might dress the part, but yeah. And so that is ultimately why I didn't even say how I got into private lending, but ultimately I prefer private lending all day, every day.
So you went to from Countrywide, Bank of America, bought them, right? You were with Bank of America for how long?
I was with Bank of America on and off, I'd say, for about 5 years. So
wow,
yeah. So the pact.
You're a real fucking glutton for punishment.
Tell me about it. Yeah, well, I say B of A, we actually left, we being the entire branch, and kind of went around. So maybe it wasn't B of A necessarily, but it kind of was because of the crew that I was with.
Okay.
So we kind of all stuck together. I went to, it's really full circle in this industry. So when I was in subprime, I don't know if you're familiar with Bill Dallas. So he's huge.
Dallas was from where?
He started First Franklin.
Yes, I know.
And then Own It Mortgage. Yeah. So that's where I got my start. I started at First Franklin, then I went to Own It. Coincidentally, as I said, full circle, when I left B of A, I went to Skyline Funding, and he was the owner of Skyline. And, it's funny, he walked in the room and he's like, I know you. Yeah. And I was a baby when I worked for him originally.
Bill made a ton of money.
Ton of money. And still does. And does very well for himself.
Bill was one of the few people that got out and kept the money.
Yeah.
And made more.
Took everyone's jobs away.
He did.
Yes.
But yeah.
Yes.
I know Bill
very smart individual.
Very smart.
Yeah. So after the B of A stint, I worked for PennyMac. Also a very large corporation. You are truly a number in that company.
PennyMac was the guy. They were the guys from IndyMac, no or no?
Countrywide, Stan Curlin.
Oh yes,
yep.
You're right.
Yeah, so Stan Curlin started PennyMac.
The guys from IndyMac went to Impact, I think, something like that.
I don't want to misspeak there, but so Stan Curlin. Was the
Stan's
CEO.
Another one that fucking killed it.
Yeah, he's now deceased. Rest in peace. Mm-hmm. But killed it. Absolutely.
He had a fucking run in half. Yeah.
So I was originally brought into. So I'm jumping a bit here, and you can tell me to stop. But at one point in time, I thought I wanted my career path to be in management.
Right.
Not that there's anything wrong with being a loan officer. But I just thought I wanted more for my title and where my career was headed. Mm-hmm. And I was offered a position to run purchase operations at PennyMac.
Okay.
And so I took it. I said, you know what? I think this is what I want. And it was a great experience. I'll say that. And I'm appreciative of the opportunity, but never again. Never again. So I'm sales all day, every day. And it is nice to have that sales aspect in operations. And I know it was appreciated by the sales team. But I'm a salesperson. Yeah. It's just who I am. So I did that for a few years. And that is ultimately what led me to private lending. Somebody that I had known within PennyMac left, went to a company called Patch of Land, and said, hey, look, And
that was where you started with the smaller companies.
And that's correct. Yeah. I mean, I did some smaller companies within conventional lending, but yes, a true startup. So this was a true startup. Right. I mean, are we going to be able to make payroll tomorrow? Mm-hmm. Who knows? Melissa, do you want to jump in and try and ride this way with us? And I said, absolutely. Right. So I was originally brought in to run all of operations within that company. So I oversaw underwriting, processing, closing. But what I haven't brought up is my start in this business was coincidentally through a friend's mother. She was the head of First Franklin and then Own It Mortgage. And I somehow just became her right-hand man throughout my career. And she truly was my mentor. And
so funny. I have such a similar path to you.
Yeah. And I became a workaholic. Yeah. So I love her to death, but she definitely taught me that work comes before anything. And I've learned, to create some balance in my life. But I was her right-hand man through all of these different organizations, companies, I rode the wave with her. And so she knows my background has always been in both operations and sales. So she thought I'd be the perfect fit for it. So once we got things up and running, I knew nothing about private lending, nothing. Yeah. My very first day, I was told, figure it out. You have a day and let's get shit going. I funded my first loan within 48 hours.
Wow.
But thankfully I'm a quick learner and she knew she could trust me. And, at the end of the day, the goal is not to fuck up. Not
to fuck up too bad.
Not to fuck up too bad. Right. But it was great. So once we got operations going, we hired staff, we increased production. I decided that I need to transition into sales. Because that's really where I prefer to be. And we know that's where I excel. So I was brought on as sales operations at Patch of Land. So I was responsible for recruiting talent, training them, teaching them private lending. We were really trying to target a lot of people from conventional. And because the transition for her and I was so easy, it came like nothing.
Then you figured out most people are fucking dumb as dirt.
It blew my mind. Right. It blew my mind.
Where you're like, I can't believe you
I couldn't believe. I mean, you're better off getting someone who has no experience whatsoever, who's hungry. Yeah. And really, that's who's going to thrive in this space. It's far and few who can come from
Which is
conventional.
Mind-boggling, right?
It blew my mind. I wanted to get up and walk out and say, I just don't. Yeah. I can't comprehend why you don't understand this.
It's as if you're fucking talking and trying to teach them a new language. You're like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
it's the most unbelievable shit.
I know. Blew my mind.
Yeah.
So from there. I loved it. I really did. And it was like a family, that company. But I had a ceiling on my commission, being in management, and I was making people a shit ton of money. And I decided it was best for myself and my family at the time, because I was working 80 hours plus a week. This is a very demanding industry, but especially when you're responsible for other people, it just puts a whole nother layer onto it. But I said, it's time for me to make some money, and I would like to go out and do sales on my own and, continue to stay with the organization, but it's time for Melissa to look out for Melissa. And that was the best decision I could have ever made. And I haven't looked back since. So I think that
what happened, Patch of Land, when the rates
went
sideways
after COVID. Yeah, after COVID, or it was 22.
Right.
They couldn't withstand the backlash from all the uncertainty in the market and the rate increase, and so unfortunately they went out of business. Thankfully, I worked so closely with many investors because of my management role that I had a Rolodex of individuals who knew me and helped me to kind of take my next step. And I was extremely fortunate that I didn't have to look for something. People were actually coming to me. And that's what led me to my next job at Lima One.
Lima.
Yeah. And
then they couldn't close shut.
And you know,
I'm kidding.
There was moments. So
kidding.
it was a nice ride.
Yeah, it was a good ride.
But again, very corporate.
Right.
Very, very corporate. And as I mentioned before, you know, I'm an exception-based person. Mm-hmm. And I'm a very creative individual.
But that's the whole basis of private lending.
It absolutely is.
Because it's not, you know, every fucking deal needs to get massaged.
It does.
That's the basis. So I think, you know, you have companies out there, again, and you know I'm not a hater. Honest to God. You know me. Like, I could care less.
Yeah.
I mean, fucking Lima could do $400 million a month. God bless them. I'm actually happy for them.
Which they're not, but okay.
But let's just say, right? I find it like it's so hard to be so corporate and so rigid on your guidelines in private lending because it's just not the business. It's not like a fucking FHA loan or a conventional loan or a VA loan where you're putting it through a DU or LP and you're rigid. And, you know, and it's not just Lima. I think once it's the mentality when big corporations step into the business.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And they know nothing about our life.
Yeah.
That motherfuckers haven't even written a deal before ever in their lives, right? Like, they've never taken a fucking application in their entire lives. Forget about anything else. They've traded loans. That's what they understand. They get the secondary market, but they've never been in the trenches.
Yeah, they're securitizing. They're the money guys, but they don't understand the day-to-day step-by-step consumer.
And when those people step into the business and they have a ton of money, then they start setting those rules.
Yeah.
That's where they trip over themselves. Yep. Right? And one of the things that, like when Ross and I were looking for a sugar daddy, right? Like Lima has with MFA.
Yep.
When we sat down with the guys at PIMCO, that was the conversation. That was the first conversation I had with them. I said to them, you guys are very welcome to become partners with us. However, you cannot make the lending decisions or tell us how to underwrite the fucking loans, to do anything, because that's not your job.
Exactly.
So if we're going to do business together, we know how to originate the loans. We know how to process the loans. We know how to underwrite the loans. Let us deliver it. And you know what? They said, we're good. Yes.
I mean, that's amazing.
That's amazing.
You know, people go to a private lender so they don't have to deal with how a bank works, right? So when you take a private lender and you turn it into this, you know, very corporate environment, you're removing that element of why the consumer is going to you in the first place.
Right.
I can't tell you how many times I had that conversation. Like, am I working with the bank? Aren't you guys supposed to be a private lender? I'm like, yeah, well, you know, there was a whole spiel for that too, right? Well, we are the middle ground. So we're not true hard money. We're not conventional.
You know what happens to people that are in the middle of the lane? They get run over.
100%.
Right?
100%.
Because you're not picking a fucking lane.
Yep.
Either are you on the fucking right or are you on the left? So I understand your pain.
Yeah. So then I guess what happens next in my career, I reach out to a builder on social media and I asked to take him to lunch. And strangely, he says, absolutely. However, I'm going to bring your competitor, which was you.
Yeah.
And I had no idea what the intent was. And maybe you didn't either, right?
No, I had the intent.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
okay.
100%.
Okay. Well, then...
You were the one that got ambushed.
I did get ambushed. But fortunate for you, I'm a gambler.
Yeah.
And you know, after several meetings, decided that this was the place for me. And I want to thank you because this has been the best decision I could have ever made for my career.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I
same. I want to thank you for trusting me and coming on board.
Yeah.
Because that, you know, it's a mutual thing. But one thing I'll tell you, I love the way you do business because you have such a good understanding of the operational side. So you know how to maneuver within the organization. so skillfully, right? And that's why, like, when I get a deal that I know has a little bit of hair on it or that needs to be done, I'll always refer to you, right? Because
Thank
it's
you.
like,
Yeah.
you know, I trust Melissa. She understands the urgency and she knows how to fucking maneuver within the organization, because that's very key to be able to do, even in a small organization, right?
Yep.
You have to deal with, unlike conventional shops where it goes through DULP, it gets approved, this and that. It's a different story in our business, right?
100%.
It's, how can I present this, tell the story the right way so that when the underwriter and when the staff see
it's all storytelling.
It's all storytelling.
What I'll say also that's different about Investor is the team that we have is unlike any other. It is very rare that you work for any company, large or small, where each individual truly cares.
Yes, very true.
And that was probably one of the best things I could have asked for. I've never, you have a handful sometimes, especially in today's time where people don't want to work.
No one wants to work.
It was unbelievable to me. So, from management to whatever the position may be, people work their ass off here. But not only that, they genuinely care and want to get the job done. So, as much as I have operational sales background, there's a sales hat on this head.
Yeah, no, you do.
So, I'm
but
sales
the good thing is,
motivated.
You're very sales motivated. But like you said, we don't have people in the organization that try to slow the things down, right?
Yep.
Or become cumbersome in the process.
Or are just bitter, which you see, sadly.
Right. And I think we've done a great job of identifying people like that at a very early stage.
Yep.
And either they work themselves out of the situation or we just get rid of them.
Yeah.
Just because, and I found that I never wanted to become an operation where, even when we're doing, let's say, $100 million a month, we're so top fucking heavy that we can never get anything done.
Yep.
I think that if we can do it with less people, less hands in the pot,
100%,
right? And the people that work with us end up making more money just because they're incentivized, right? And they have that goal to make more money. That's always been my goal.
A lot of times people think if you throw a body at something, that's how you scale.
Right.
And it's really not.
Nope.
Right? You have to have the right individuals in that role. They have to have the right mentality. They have to be a team player. And I think that's one of the biggest things is everyone's a team player here.
Yep.
And it's huge. And it's benefited myself. I'm a team player. At the end of the day, we all have one goal, right? And that's to close loans.
Just fun loans.
So the fact that everyone else's mentality is like-minded in that sense it's a huge win.
I'll tell you a perfect example, like the deal you have today with those guys in New Jersey or New York, right?
Yep.
Jamie this morning was up my butt.
Yeah.
She
pushes.
She pushes.
She pushes.
Right? So does Gladys.
Yes.
Hey, boss, what are we doing here?
Yep.
Please, I want to get this done. Like, so proactive, which I love.
Yes.
I love being proactive instead of reactive.
100%.
And I think as a company, we're all proactive.
Yeah, in a very reactive environment.
Yes.
Right? Absolutely.
Reactive, and which makes all of us so special, right? Across the board, our loan officers, just everybody is so proactive.
Yep.
Are we forced to be reactive? Sometimes, right? But we're not consistently reactive, right? Which makes the organization fucked up, in my opinion.
100%. I'm kind of pivoting a little bit, but what I'll say is it took me years to understand that not every deal is viable. And I did live in a reactive state for a long time, trying to get deals done that should have never been done to begin with, just because I wanted to appease my client. And I never wanted to say no. So it was high stress, lots of chaos. And it took years of me understanding the business fully and being able to accept the fact that we can't do every deal. And it's helped me to, be where I am today and be proactive and go after those viable deals and say no to the things that I can't do
Right.
and be okay to let it go.
Well, I love that you said that, because on the sales side, I think what a lot of salespeople don't understand, or what ends up happening is, like you said, when they first start out in sales, they want to appease everybody, right? And they don't really give a shit. They just want to say yes, and they want to appease everybody. But as you mature within sales, you understand that more than likely, if you can't do the deal, a lot of other people can't do the deal, right?
Exactly.
And you have to get rid of that fear of, well, if I don't do this deal, this motherfucker is going to go speak to somebody else, right? And I'm going to lose this guy. It's not the fucking case.
Nope.
Sometimes it's good when you know the deal is impossible to say in a timely manner, which you always do. Right? Your whole thing is, well, if it's no, I just want to tell these motherfuckers.
No. Exactly.
Right? And that's your whole thing. And I see that. And I appreciate that.
Yep.
And even when you kick a deal up to, let's say, Ross, you're always on top of it to say, I don't want to string these guys along more than 48 fucking hours.
Yeah.
Right? I need to give them an answer.
Yep.
And then when you go back to them, but at least in a timely way, to say no.
Yep.
They already know, well, Melissa is great. She can't do it. Let's go to the next guy. The next guy is going to say yes because he's desperate. He's going to end up fucking it up.
Maybe, right?
Maybe.
Maybe not.
Maybe he can do it. But it doesn't matter because they appreciate, and it takes a lot for a loan officer to understand, or any salesperson, that, well, the other guy actually appreciates the fact that you got back to him so fast. And they have to rely on you for what you can possibly do.
The other thing I share with my clients, you have some bullies out there, right? They think they'll bully you into the deal. I'm commission only. Mm-hmm. I only get paid if I say yes on a deal. I never want to say no.
Yep.
I want to say yes 100% of the time.
Me too.
I want to make money. So if
me and you get along, I want to say yes to every fucking thing.
So if I'm saying no, it's because I know we can't do it.
Right. Yeah.
Right. I've been in the business long enough. I understand how it works.
And I appreciate you for that, honestly.
So, I send a lot of deals to committee so that they can be reviewed. But you guys don't see the number of deals that I immediately pass on. And I'm able to vet out that deal right away, right? Does it make sense? What are the sunk costs to date? What is the overall project? Hey, this one has no profitability, or there's absolutely no comps to support this white elephant that you're building. And there'll be pushback, right? Because you do still have to have a finesse with it,
yes.
With your clients, right? This is relationship based. But again, that's what I'll tell them. I'll say, look, I want to say yes. I want to make money. If I'm telling you no, it's because I truly can't do the deal.
Yeah. Well, which is great.
Yeah.
But one thing that you said also, you said a couple of times, which I think is missing in today's work environment, and especially with the new generation of kids growing up. You said multiple times that besides the fact you're brilliant at what you do, you work so hard. And I think a lot of people don't realize how hard we actually work.
Yeah.
Right? And they don't get it. It's like they don't realize that I'll fucking be texting you on a Saturday or a Sunday with a client. Or you have motherfuckers calling you 24/7.
Yep.
And your work doesn't really end. It's like, like my own kids. Like, Dad, you don't really work. I'm like, motherfucker, I don't work.
Yeah.
You don't fucking see what I do. My ass is up fucking 5 o'clock in the morning returning emails.
Well, and there's no going on vacation.
No.
So you can go out of town.
Yes.
But I'm never off.
You're never off.
And if I'm off, I'm not only am I losing business, but my clients are going to get upset.
Yeah.
So I have to explain to people, if I do go out of town with them on the rare occasion, hey, laptop's coming. I'm taking calls. We can have fun, but the business doesn't stop.
Maximum, you're taking off 24 hours.
Yeah. Max.
And even then, they're motherfuckers calling you.
Yep.
And what's missing in today's work environment is that. Yeah. No one wants to do that. Everyone thinks they're going to get on fucking social media.
Yeah.
Right? and they're going to be a social media fucking superstar,
Sure.
or they're going to be a YouTube superstar. And that's not the fucking case.
Well, even if you do, let's say you are, in that position and you're fortunate enough where you do blow up.
But even that's fucking work.
Well, not only that, once you get the deal, you got to work.
100%.
You got to follow up. So it's never ending within this space.
It's never ending.
Yep.
And it's like, when our team here, when they approached me to do the social media, initially I'm such a private person, believe it or not. I was like, fuck that. I don't want fucking people knowing anything about my life, right? Then having a conversation with my wife, she's like, look, you have such a personality. You're going to attract people.
Yeah.
Give it a shot. And what I explained to these guys, and they'll attest to it, I said, if I fucking do something, I never half-ass anything.
Yeah.
It's not in my fucking system.
Yeah.
And if I'm going to do this, believe me, I'm going to be one of the top motherfuckers in this industry on that side.
Yeah.
Or else I just don't want to do it. I don't want to be mediocre, right? And I think that's what comes at a young age, right? And that's what you said, where you had your mentor.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And you had that mentor.
Yep.
And that mentor sat down and she expected so much from you.
Yes.
Which is the same for me.
Yeah.
Where I had my mom's best
And God forbid I failed her.
Oh.
Yeah.
I had my mom's best friend.
Yeah.
She was the vice president. She actually ran the company.
Yeah.
I don't know. They should have called her fucking president.
Yeah.
Back then, because she was an immigrant and she had
a female.
She had multiple things going wrong for her. She was a female. She was an immigrant, and she had an accent. Right. Meanwhile, she was the brightest motherfucker in the entire organization.
Yeah.
Okay. And it was my mom's best friend. And I remember
females usually are.
Then they are. And who runs my business? Mostly females, right? Because I'm fucking smart enough to understand that.
Yep.
And so I'm such a hustler, just like you. I hustled since fucking 13, I've been hustling, right? And so I had a good hustle. I was a valet parker for a mob joint. I was making fucking $3,000-$4,000 a week. Cash as a fucking kid, right?
Yeah, that's amazing.
Like, amazing. But my work was at night.
Yeah.
So I'd sleep late. It'd be a summertime. I'm a 3-sport athlete. I just wanted to chill out. Like, my body needed a rest.
Yep.
My mom was like, fuck you. Technically, she didn't say that. My mom doesn't curse. But she's like, you're not fucking staying home. Like, Mom, I'm making $3,000-$4,000 a week.
Yeah.
No one my age is making that type of money. I'm 17. This is my senior year. So I don't give a shit. You got to go work for my best friend. I'm like, okay, which she's like a second mom to me, right? So I go there. Work started at 9 o'clock.
Yep.
I'd roll in at 9. She'd be like, what the fuck are you doing? You're late.
Yeah.
Like, dude, fucking work starts at 9.
You got to be the first one here.
I'm here at 8. Your ass better be here at 8. I'm like, an hour fucking earlier? She's like, yes. And then she had such a high expectation. And she would tell me, I'm going to explain something to you once. Write down all the information, that anything you don't understand, you got to ask me, then I'll explain it to you the second time. After the second time, you're shit out of luck and you're fucking on your own. And I used to say, but why? You're explaining to this dumb motherfucker 18 times. She said, but you're not that dumb motherfucker. You're you, and I have a higher expectation.
Yeah.
And she fucking, man, anything that needed to be done with an organization, if it was processing, go help the process.
Yeah.
I don't know anything. Go fucking help the process.
Yeah.
Underwriting, go help the underwriter.
Yeah.
Shipping, go help the warehousing, go help the warehousing.
I
was like the fucking jack of all trades. And what I didn't understand was that she was trying to give me as much experience within the mortgage banking world as I possibly could get.
Yep.
And it wasn't overnight, as you know.
Yeah.
It wasn't like an overnight success. This shit takes fucking years to master. And I think that's what's missing today. What do you think? You don't think that that's missing in today's? No one wants to learn the art of anything anymore.
I agree to an extent. And the only reason I say to an extent is because some of the individuals that we've both met recently, there's these young kids right now who are hustling their asses off, who are getting into real estate very young, learning wholesaling, flipping houses, Now, mind you, that is not the norm
Right.
by any means. So that's why I say to an extent, because I am still very impressed with some of this younger generation who is really taking, some of those things and getting a mentor and truly learning the ins and outs and becoming very successful at such a young age. With that said, unfortunately, in today's time, no, for the most part, people don't want to work, right? There's an excuse for everything.
Yeah.
And, that's part of the reason I had to remove myself from management too, because I am such a hard worker that how dare you not work as hard as me?
Right.
And that was very hard to learn. I had to understand that just because I work a certain way doesn't mean every individual does.
Correct.
And I continued to let myself down for something I had no control over. But yeah, hopefully there's a shift, right? And this younger generation does start to want to get that hustle and that drive going. I love my parents very much, some of the sweetest people ever. But they had a lack mentality and didn't necessarily have true careers. And at a very young age, I knew I wanted more for myself and that I wasn't going to live in this poverty mindset.
I love that.
And, I'm not the most successful, but I continue to grow every year. And I hope I know that I will just continue to grow and become more successful. But with that said, I did not want to live, this paycheck to paycheck life. And I wanted more for myself and my family. And I understood that at a very young age.
You're very lucky that you understood that.
100%.
Because a lot of people that grow up in poverty or lower
continue that mindset.
Continue having a poor mindset.
Yes.
And that is like what people don't understand.
Yeah.
Because if you keep thinking poor, you're always going to be poor.
Always.
If you, like you said, the lacking, if you're always thinking, I don't have, you're never going to fucking have. Ever. And you should really be proud of yourself because that's,
my life is filled with abundance. I tell myself that every single day.
Yeah, me too.
Money comes to me in abundance.
So I'm a spiritual and mental magnet.
Yeah.
Right? All good things come to me. And that's it. That's my mantra.
Yep.
And it comes, right? And it's so funny because what people don't get and you get, I'm so proud of you. I didn't know that, right? Is that you are what you think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
You are what you think. And if you come across anyone that's ever in my path, I will never talk down about myself. I'm always telling everybody, I am the best.
Yes.
Right?
Exactly.
Now, you could think differently about me. I don't give a fuck.
Nope.
As long as I feed that information to myself, right? As long as I have that playing, that fucking recording playing in my own fucking head, right? That I'm the fucking best. I can accomplish anything. I could do anything.
Yep.
That's all that matters.
Yeah. And again, obviously I've had that mindset, even though I didn't know it, right? There was something that was driving me. But it took years for me to truly understand how thinking positively truly narrates my life. And, yes, I work hard, but I work so much smarter now. It's not that if I don't have this manager title or this high title that my life doesn't mean anything. I'm so
ego.
It's ego 100%. And I've had a lot of it for a long time. And shit, I'll pat myself on the back. I'm still proud of myself, but I've learned how to move that ego to the right type of ego and not let it control me.
Right.
And by letting that go, it's like a weight off your shoulder.
Yeah.
It's not that I have to be in the office 80 hours a week, first one in, last one to leave. That was my mentality for so long.
Yep.
And it killed me. It really almost killed me.
Yeah, but
And
I have something. I have a question for you.
yeah,
Do you think that you would have been as successful as if you didn't do that at an early age, at
no,
least?
I don't.
So it was a stepping
Yes.
stone. You've graduated to a
Yes.
point where you don't need to do that anymore.
Yes,
But to get to where you needed to be,
100%.
you had to work your fucking ass off.
Absolutely.
That's it. That's
Yes.
the only thing I try to explain to the new generation
Yeah.
is just that.
Absolutely. No, if I didn't have that experience, I do not, I know I wouldn't be where I am today. Regardless, you can have knowledge, but it's all dependent on what you do with that knowledge, right? So I don't regret anything. I'm grateful for every experience that I've had. And I know, even through the bad times, it's made me who I am today. And I'm extremely grateful to myself that I've been able to take all of that knowledge, all of those tools, everything I've learned, and just continue to develop for the better.
Yeah. So gratitude is the other thing, right?
Yeah.
What people don't understand is when you introduce gratitude,
Yep.
even on yourself is the most important thing, right?
Yeah.
To have gratitude for what you've accomplished in your life.
Absolutely.
Right? It's so important, and listen, I think that this is going to be your best year.
I think so.
I really honestly believe that.
Yeah.
You're a mid 6-figure earner,
Yep.
which is, you're a single mom.
Yep.
You don't get support from anyone else.
I do not.
You have a young son, right?
Yep.
Which is, you've raised him fantastic. Obviously, all kids come with certain, with situations, with problems,
Sure.
right? All my kids are fucking lazy as fuck,
Yeah.
except for one. But you should be really proud of yourself. And I really think that this year you're going to hit 7 figures.
That's the goal.
That's the goal.
And it's, don't get me wrong. That is the goal.
Yes.
I want money.
Yes.
I like money.
Yeah.
But I really want people to know who I am.
Yes.
That is just as important to me as that paycheck.
Yeah.
I truly want my name to be established out there as, and I'm, knock on wood, I'm very, very fortunate that I do get so much referrals from my clients, whether it's a broker or builder direct. But I want it to just be known out there that you go to Melissa.
Yes.
With investor funding.
I love it.
Yeah.
I think, I fucking think.
Yeah.
I know for a fact this year you're just going to go to that next level.
Yeah.
And
I believe it.
I made you that promise.
Yep.
Right? That I'm going to help with that, and I'm keeping my promise.
Yeah.
I promise you that I'm going to be there, and we're going to together.
I love it.
Take you to that next level because I try to keep my.
I've been ready.
I know you are.
Yeah.
And the environment that we're going into in 2025, regardless of what anyone's political position is in life, it doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is that what's coming in 2025 on the financial end is going to be next level.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, even through the difficult times within the market, people have still been building.
Yes.
They've still been fix and flipping and investing. And so, yes, maybe the market has slowed down a bit, but developers haven't stopped.
Nope.
So even through the down times, we've been fortunate and continued business as usual.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily, I always say if there's a magic 8 ball, then we'd all be in a great place, right? We would know exactly what's going to happen.
True.
But my mentality at this time is business as usual.
Business as usual.
And builders still need to get loans.
Yep.
And I'm here to do that for them.
Yep. I think a lot of people, automatically there's certain people that are always going to have that negative mindset, right? And it's like I'm speaking to people in the business and they'll be like, well, banks will be back and we're not going to get as much ground up construction. I'm like, motherfucker. I was busy as fuck.
Yeah.
Before getting into the ground up construction game. And if that changes, I'm just going to go back to doing what I was doing before.
Well,
bridge loans and fucking fix-a-flip loans.
I mean, and not even that. There's bankable guys and there's guys that aren't bankable. And they're always going to be there.
100%.
So
I agree.
when the market, right after COVID, when the market was just phenomenal and rates were at their lowest, banks were doing 100% financing. Okay, great. I was still killing it.
Me too.
So there's enough out there for everyone.
And that's what people don't understand. And it's that scarcity fucking mentality that they always have. And and I'm just the opposite. I'm like, this is going to be a killer fucking year for all of us, and it's really going to be, and it's going to take us to new heights. I have one more question for you.
Yeah.
Your son's 17.
He is 17.
And he's going to be 18.
Yep. I had him when I was 4.
We had him when we were young.
Just kidding.
You were like 11. What is your advice going to be to your son when he turns 18, or let's say he goes to college or comes out? What is it? What's your advice that you're going to be giving him for success? What are you going to tell him? What
Get out of my house and don't fall on your face. No.
No, but what business are you going to try and put him into? Like, or tell him to follow?
So it's funny. School has never been his favorite thing.
Right.
And the teacher was telling me, they not an altercation, but something happened. He didn't want to do an assignment. And the teacher said, "Why do you think you don't need to do this?" And his response was, "Because I'm getting into my mother's business." Mm-hmm. And great. He's like, "I don't need that shit."
Right.
He's like, "I'm going into mortgages." But everything in life is a learning lesson, right? And not that I've done a bad job. I've done it by myself, and I've done the best that I can.
You've done a great job.
But did I gave him a lot because I didn't have it, and I wanted him to have a different life than I had as a child. I wanted him to be a child.
Yeah.
And not that set him back at all, but it did definitely help him to be lazier. So what I want him to be successful, and I want him to live his best life.
So what business would you tell him to get into to be successful?
So, to real estate.
Into real estate. Like what specific in the real estate?
I don't necessarily, I would not say be a realtor.
Right.
It's tough.
Very hard.
Very hard.
I agree with you there.
But he's great with numbers. Thankfully, he picked that up from me. And he wants to go into finance. He doesn't necessarily know what path.
Okay.
But
so would you tell him to be a loan officer?
Sure. Okay. Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah. I mean, good. I can't tell you. So I don't have this crazy background of education, right? My resume is very strong, but not necessarily with schooling.
Which doesn't mean anything.
My point being is I've managed people who, on paper shit on me when it comes to education. But they weren't in my position. They don't have the skill set that I have. They don't have the knowledge that I have.
And they don't have your grit.
Or that. And that's not something that's taught necessarily.
Nope. No. And by the way, Harvard did a study that said that grit is the key to success, by the way.
That's my word for the year.
Well, grit. Done. Love it.
Yeah.
So now, would you tell your son to get into wholesaling? Because that's what I've been telling a lot of young people.
It's not that I would tell him not to do it. I think the first thing I'm going to tell him to do is to try and get a mentor. That's not his mommy.
Right.
Not that I wouldn't, of course I would help. And if he wants to learn, I will give him everything I have within my basket. But he really needs to take that initiative and try and get out there and meet these other young individuals in his generation who are killing it. And sometimes that's uncomfortable. And I'm hoping he can step out of his comfort zone so that he can be successful. But absolutely, be a loan officer. I will teach you. You can be extremely successful. I said before, I didn't I stopped being a loan officer because I didn't think that title was good enough for where I wanted to be within my career at whatever stage of life. But call yourself whatever the hell you want. Senior loan officer, business development. It doesn't throw whatever title you want on it. At the end of the day, a loan officer is a loan officer.
I agree with you. So what do you think? What are your predictions for the real estate market in 2025? What do you think is going to happen?
It's a great question. I think things are going to continue to develop and improve. As I said before, we can't foresee the future. Right. And anytime, just a few months ago, they're like, oh, once the Fed cuts rates are going to drop. What happened? Fed cut rates went up. So we don't necessarily know exactly what's going to happen, but look at Nashville by itself. The growth is astronomical. It's amazing. So I can tell you what's going to happen for myself. For me, I know that my goal and what I foresee the forecast for Melissa in 2025 is really owning my territory, is owning Nashville. And, don't get me wrong, nationwide lending. So I want to be all over the place. But I really do want to establish myself here. I want to have billboards without having billboards. Right. I just want it to be known. And so my forecast in 2025 is that hopefully my forecast in 2025 is to double my business.
Your production.
Yes, my production. Exactly.
That's great.
Yep. So
how much did you close last year?
So last year I did, between the two organizations, almost 60 million.
Okay.
Yeah. So my average was 5.5.
Okay. But we got to get you at least to, I would say, 20 million a month. That's
absolutely the goal.
I think you're capable enough to do it. And that's
a 7-figure income.
Yeah, that's a 7-figure.
Yep.
And that's we're going to take you there together.
Yep.
I think we'll get there.
Yeah. And so keep in mind, 5.5 was my average, but I also, for the first 7 months out of the year, worked for an organization where I wasn't generating much business. The credit box became very tight. That organization now cut its staff in half. It's, so I don't want to necessarily base what I did last year on what my potential is. Right. So
your potential is sky's the limit. What would you say was one of the most successful projects that you funded? Like, how much did the guy end up making?
Oh, gosh.
If you had to think, was it a fix a flip or was it a development? What do you think it was?
I'd say I don't know that I would have one.
Okay.
I can't. I don't have one that I would say this was my most successful. I think the wins for me are when there's a lot of challenges throughout the course of that loan, and I never gave up, and I overcame every challenge and successfully closed the deal and continue to have a client who's going to do repeat business with me. So
what was it? What was it? One of the most challenging deals that you did, you think, this year? Like, what would you say? What was the hair on it that we funded together?
Sure. So it was a multifamily deal for
how many units?
It was 14 units.
14 units.
Which automatically is an exception in itself.
This is capped at 10, right?
So 20 is technically the guideline.
Right.
However, 10 doesn't necessarily need all the committee review and exception. Correct. So there was multiple challenges that arose, whether it was value, not understanding the project because certain information wasn't necessarily given to me, and shame on me. I could have dug a little deeper and identified some of these issues prior to it exploding. But thankfully, because I work for an organization that truly does want to get the deal done for the right individual, for the right transaction, we were able to overcome all those obstacles. I had a client, this client yelled, and this is one of my best brokers. I mean, yelled. And I was like, that's it. My relationship is done. But I didn't give up. I, continued to work with the powers that be within investor funding. I was able to explain to the client why we are where we are, that there's faults on both ends, not to point fingers, but, at the end of the day, let's just see how we can overcome these obstacles and get the job done. And we did, and they're very happy. And the call that I took right before we started this was with that broker on a new deal.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I think we do some great stuff, and we really help a lot of people. I just had one of our largest fix and flippers in Florida went into a deal, and she had to close it in a week. We closed it in a week, and I had spoken to her. I'm like, I have someone for you. Instead of doing all that shit that you're gonna do to this house, to maybe, and she was gonna make about $1 million, 1.2 on it.
On a fix and flip.
Yeah.
Nice.
I mean, she does fucking real high-end stuff. Okay. And I said to her, I have a client for you right now.
Yep.
I said, you're not gonna make 1.2, but you're not gonna go through all the fucking headache.
Sure.
You'll end up making $700,000. Are you willing to do it? And within 2 weeks, she ended up making $700,000.
Wow. Yeah.
Like, that was a great win for her.
That's a massive win.
But I'll give her credit too, because she's been flipping these properties within 3 months. She left $500,000 on the table.
Yep. Yeah.
But, she's like, thank you so much. And she was able to think about it and say,
well, that's 3 months she got back.
3 months she got back.
That's $700,000 she can then put into another
new deal, which she did, right? And she's going into contract on another piece of property, and she made. I mean, 2 weeks to make $700,000. That's not fucking bad.
Nope. What I will say, and this is a good thing, and I hope it continues. You're gonna have challenges at any company you work at, right? Pros and cons with everything. But I've been very lucky with investor funding. And again, I don't know if it's necessarily how I'm structuring the deal and packaging the deal up front, if it's the staff and their ability and willingness to get that loan closed. But I am not getting the pushback that I'm used to getting with people who, their mentality is kill everything.
Right.
And
because we don't have that.
We don't have that.
We don't have it.
And so, I'm grateful and thankful.
But that's a choice, right? You've been in organizations. They're organizations that get into business with the mindset of we don't want to lose, right? Yeah. I'll tell you something with that. Those organizations that get into the business or they start changing their business to not losing, end up losing more.
100%.
Because they're concentrating on fucking loss.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And I think we're based on logic and win.
And, that's logic. I'm so glad you said that word, is because you're missing that in a lot of these institutions today.
Yes.
And private lending is not black and white.
Nope.
At
it's
all.
Gray.
And
it's
so
all gray.
It's all gray.
It's all fucking gray.
And so when you're living in that gray environment, you have to have logic. And when you remove that, good luck. Good luck navigating that environment.
I agree.
It's unattainable.
Well, I know that that's why this year we're going to propel to the next level.
Yep.
Is because our competition is going to, the guys that they're going to get to a certain point are going to align themselves with bigger players. And those bigger players are going to instill certain limitations on them, which is going to stunt their growth.
Yeah.
We're not going to have that.
Yeah.
And we don't have that. And that's why we're going to catch up and we're going to surpass our competition.
Yeah. And, at the end of the day, there's always somebody out there that can do something that you can't. When
I agree. But I don't even want to do it, though.
Yeah.
How's that?
Yeah.
There's certain things I don't want to do.
Exactly.
A lot of people come to us, well, why don't you do 100% financing? I need another hole in my fucking head to do 100% financing on anything.
Well, people ask me, the best question is, what's your niche?
Right.
It's me.
Right.
It's the relationship that I'm going to offer you. Within, private lending has really expanded, and there's so many lenders out there.
Yep.
Now, more than half of them have no idea what they're doing, can't get a loan closed. No. You hear horrific things.
Yep.
But for the most part, the actual heavy hitters within the space, we all have the same product.
Yep.
We're all lending the same. Maybe you get 5% more leverage here, but I can give you 5% more here.
Right.
Right? They're capped at X on this. I'm capped at X on this.
Right.
So it's not necessarily what is your specific niche. My niche is all of it.
Yep.
I'm new construction, fix and flip, bridge, DSCR, but it's actually my relationship that I'm going to build with you and the promises I make to you and my commitment to you. That is my niche.
I love that. And that's what I tell people.
Yeah.
Right. And a lot of people, I've gotten some really good, I have a good base on social media today. Right. And I think everybody just reaches out to me sometimes and they're like, well, this company is going to do 100% financing. Can you match it? I go, no.
Yeah.
Why? Well, if you don't have fucking skin in the game, if you're not willing to put skin in the game, why would I put 100% of skin in the game without you even
Why would you take that risk when you're not taking any risk?
When you're not willing, if you're not willing to believe in the product and the project enough where you're willing to invest your money, why would I fucking invest 100% in it? Or if I'm going to invest 100%, then I'm going to take all the upside. Why would I fucking give you anything?
And that's where I really don't waste my time on clients like that.
Right.
But with that said, some of those clients have a huge network.
Yeah.
So I won't just cast them aside, right? Maybe I'm not going to work with you personally on a deal.
Yeah.
But maybe one day I will.
Yeah. It's true. You're right.
That 100% usually runs out at some point.
It runs out
You
fast.
have an exposure limit, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Not only that, their network of other builders that they can potentially refer to me.
Yeah.
So I always keep those lines of communication open. I definitely don't shut those doors. And I figure out, okay, how can I work with you in other ways, in other aspects?
Listen, I've heard now, like some of our competition, they're fucking sucking wind.
Yeah.
They went so aggressive for so long that now they're having crazy buybacks and they're not going to be in business much longer.
Nope.
Did they kick our ass for a little bit? Yeah, for 4, 5, 6 months, but they've ran out of gas.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you really want to be with a company that's going to give you some sound advice and so that you can listen to.
100%.
There's a lot of times I'll go into a deal, they'll say, well, XYZ company is going to do it. I'm like, well, even if they want to finance it, you're not going to make fucking any money on a deal.
Yeah.
So you're going to spin your wheels for 6, 7, 8 months to make nothing just because they want to finance the fucking deal? You're out of your mind.
Yeah.
And
for whatever reason they believe in it. But, and that shows how educated they are, right? And how knowledgeable they are and what type of projects they're getting into. Why would you do? Well, they're saying, well, we don't believe the value that the appraisal is giving. Okay, that's fine, but do the analysis on your own.
Yeah.
Right? Why is somebody going to buy your house for $1 million in an area where there's no other $1 million houses?
Right.
Yet they can go 2 blocks down, 3 blocks, a mile away in a nice area where there's other multi-million-dollar houses, right? So, it gets tricky when someone wants to be the pioneer, So sometimes that does pay off, and that's great. But high risk, high reward, maybe. But, you're potentially setting yourself up for failure too.
How about this? I'm even willing to go and, into situations where someone wants to make the market, but they're going to have to come up with more money to make the market.
Yep. Yeah.
And if they're willing to make that risk, take that risk,
yeah,
let's go. Why not?
Yeah.
We'll take the risk with you, but we're going to share in the risk. It's
Yep.
not going to be maximum.
And that's very
financing.
fair.
That's very fair.
Yeah.
And
I mean, not only is it very fair, you're not going to have a lot of other lenders out there who are even going to be willing to take that risk.
And the ones that are going to come with so much more problems.
Yep.
Right? And we see that. We see that the ones that were willing to take that risk at this point have ran out of money.
Yeah.
Because no one else is willing to give them money to fucking lend out. So then they're having those issues.
Or just become unbelievably conservative because of the situations they put themselves in.
Which, you worked for one of those companies,
I did.
Right?
Yep.
Where they got out of the bat, they went very aggressive because people like me, we decided, hey, rates are high, shit's fucked up, let's stop lending or taking risk. They went crazy, and a lot of shit went sideways on them.
Yep.
And then they said, all of a sudden, well, we're not fucking lending anymore.
Period.
Right.
Yep. Let's make the credit box so small that
tight.
Nothing fits.
Right. That nothing fits.
Yeah.
And that's the name of the game.
Yep.
So I think you said you have to find that balance, right? And I think in our organization, we have that perfect balance.
We do.
Right? I'm fucking crazy. Ross is very conservative, right?
And it's not. I wouldn't say very conservative.
No, I'm just compared to me.
Compared to absolutely,
I'm out of my fucking mind.
Yes,
right.
Yes, you guys are definitely two opposite ends of the spectrum,
right? And then
100%.
We'll end up meeting in the middle somewhere.
Yes. And usually we do.
And we do.
And it's great.
Yeah, and sometimes he'll come to me. He'll say, "No,
yeah,
absolutely not."
Yep.
And he'll explain to me, we're not going to do it for X, Y, and Z. And
sure.
I'll look at the X, Y, and Z and say, oh, okay, you're fucking right.
Yeah.
And, we had a little bit of a situation on the deal that you had right, in New York, right?
Yep.
And you would have thought, like, well, Steve's fucking crazy. He's just going to sign this thing. But I'm not that crazy.
I know. Thanks a lot. No,
I'm
just kidding.
No,
I'm just kidding.
Sometimes I also, the lawyer kicks into my brain and I'll, and I'll say.
So here's the other thing is that, yes, at the end of the day, I do wear a sales cap, right?
But you don't want to hurt we trust you.
Correct.
Because
exactly.
you will never hurt us.
No. And I do my due diligence up front.
Yes.
So if I don't believe in the deal and if I can't see that, okay, this makes sense, then I'm not even going to propose the scenario to begin with.
Yeah.
Sometimes do I push it a little bit? Maybe. Right. But I can see the bigger picture.
Your job to push it
that's my job. That's why you guys hired me.
100%. But, I think Ross and I had this conversation about a month ago where we're like, we're lucky enough where our loan officers aren't scumbags.
Yeah. Yes.
And people don't realize a lot of loan officers that are in the business are scumbags.
Yeah.
And they really don't give a shit.
No.
And that's why, like, for us,
and they usually don't last.
No, they don't last.
Yeah.
Or they'll hop on to the next place.
Exactly.
Which what they don't understand is it might be a really big business, but it's not that fucking big.
Oh, it's small.
It's small.
And everyone knows each other.
Everybody knows each other.
Absolutely.
And one of the greatest thing about you is that you have such a you really do have a great reputation in the business.
Yeah. And I pride myself on that as well. And, the goal is to maintain that.
Yep.
But again, I've been very fortunate. I've also worked my ass off, but I've been very fortunate to meet the right people and, get my name out there.
Yep.
And that's been great.
Name. Yep. Your name actually goes even higher on the secondary market.
Yeah.
People are like, wow, you guys did a great job hiring her. And, which is fantastic. But like you said, it's a lot of people will come to me and they'll be like, well, this guy talks shit about you and he said that you stole money. You know what I always say to them? Have him prove that I stole $1 fucking and I will double whatever it is that this motherfucker said that I stole from him. I think we had a situation like that.
We did.
Right?
Yeah.
We had a
I wouldn't
situation
say the word stole or steal was
or,
involved,
you know,
but
whatever.
yes,
People will be
bad
like,
blood.
well, you know, people, oh, this guy said that you beat him out of 10,000.
Yeah.
Really? I did? No problem.
Yeah.
Have him prove.
Yep.
Because there has to be proof.
Yeah.
There always is.
Before I even started.
We
had
don't
that
deal with
situation.
cash, right?
Yeah.
There has to be some sort of paper trail.
Yep.
We're not in the cash fucking business.
Yep.
And I always say, my reputation is stellar. Have the fucking guy prove that I stole 10,000 and I'll cut him a check in front of you for 20,000.
Yep.
And you know what always happens?
You're never cutting more money than you should.
I never cut a check.
Yeah.
Because it's bullshit.
Yeah.
You know, I just don't do business that way.
Yep.
You know, and that's the reputation I always wanted.
Yeah.
I've never beat anyone out of a fucking penny.
Yep.
You know, and that's important.
100%.
Have, you know, doing a business for so many years, are 100% of the people satisfied with me? Absolutely not. I'd be lying.
Yeah.
There's certain things
you can't please everyone.
You can't, because there's certain things also out of my control.
Exactly.
And then you have situations with people that are completely, you know,
unrealistic.
Yeah. You know, your appraisal came back. You got fucked. Is that my problem?
Yep.
No.
Yeah.
You know, I can't control the fucking appraiser or what the value is.
There's a lien on title.
Yeah, there's a lien on title.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Whatever it may be.
What can I fucking possibly do? You know, you're going to blame it on me.
Yep.
I'll take it on the chin. Blame it on me.
Yep.
You know, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
You know, and people are going to be sour. Why? Because no one wants to take blame for themselves. They're always going to push it on somebody else. Oh, Melissa fucked me. This one fucked me. That one did this and that one did that, because it's easier to push it on someone else. And
that's just because they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Right? But the individuals who truly understand this industry and this market and are getting themselves into smart deals, you're not having those conversations.
Nope, you're not.
And if you are, then you're fucking up somewhere.
True. That's truth.
And those are hard conversations to have.
Those are hard conversations.
And shit happens sometimes.
Yeah.
But that's where, you know, the smart person will know how to navigate those situations.
Yep.
And ultimately not put themselves in it to begin with.
Yep.
But again, there's things that are outside of our control. Sometimes we don't own the appraisers, right? That industry,
and that ended a long time ago.
That ended a long time ago.
You know, and I got to be honest, I'm happy that it did.
Yeah.
Because it
well, look where it crashed the entire market.
It did.
So, yes.
I think one good
checks
thing,
and balances are there for a reason.
Listen, there's a lot of shit I talk about what happened to the mortgage business and Dodd-Frank, all that shit that they fucked up on. But one thing that I am very appreciative is the fact that they evened the field out when it came to appraisals.
Yeah.
And we can't order them anymore. We have no control over them.
Yep.
And we're actually getting pretty honest answers on what the fucking worth is.
Don't get me wrong. There's some jackass appraisers
there
out
there are some jackass appraisers.
But you're going to have that with anyone.
No, I agree with you.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, the subjectivity of the appraisals is going
You get some lazy appraisers.
You do. And I think that's going to change.
Yeah.
I think just like they did the automation on like DU and LP, right? And I think they're going to do that on the appraisal side.
Yeah.
Just because.
Well, you're seeing a lot of that in these hybrid reports and things like that.
But I think right now with AI, the way that it's progressing, you don't really fucking need. I don't need a fucking appraiser to go out there and tell me how much this property's fucking worth.
Yeah, to pull comps that we can pull.
Why? Because you're going to get situations where I've had them multiple times, and you probably too. You have a guy that's purchasing 3 identical fucking homes on the same block, and you have to rotate it. 3 appraisals will come in, and you're getting 3 different fucking values.
Yep.
How is that fucking possible?
How is that possible?
It's archaic.
Yep.
Right? It's just stupid. It's stupidity.
Yep.
That has to be removed from the business.
Yes.
That subjectivity.
Yes.
That human touch.
Yeah.
Like you said, because the guy's fucking lazy as fuck.
Yeah.
He's not doing his job. Or the other one is just dumb as shit. He's coming in too high, right? He's fucking up too.
Yeah.
And then you're going to get one with a real value. That's bullshit. They've got to take that shit out of the business. They have enough data today where they're going to have to come up with some sort of AI, put it in. Some jackass is going to just go out, take pictures, and put it into a system. And that system is going to spit out what the fucking value is.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we'll be there before we know it.
Yeah, we'll be there.
Yeah.
We'll be there. But anyway, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much.
It was so much fun.
Yes.
And like I said, I think this year, I know this year.
Yeah, that's right.
You're going to have a phenomenal, fucking record-breaking year.
I can't wait.
You're going to hit that 7 figures.
Yep.
And I can't wait to cut you those checks.
I can't wait to accept them.
100,000 a month.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
This is the end of our episode. Melissa Barone was with us, and see you next time. You've been listening to The Game of Loans, where real estate battles are fought and won. Make sure to fortify your defenses by subscribing. Cash flow is coming, and we'll be back next time to help you claim your throne. The war of wealth continues.